Hi listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to Upptalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say Upptalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it. Let's investigate SAP, a well-known enterprise resource planning system, and discover its many functionalities and business applications.
Misplaced procedure. There is some space, I can say. So if you guys are looking, you cannot ask it. But what we are learning is that we can do multiple issues. Put one more position down there. 0, 0, 0. Put one more position down there. That's it. And then one more. This is a particular number. So it's a particular number that you are. So let's see. So let's see what happens. So let's see. So we are not executing the procedure, basically. Whenever you are accessing the view, like you were able to access different views. Let us say this is an attribute view. Now how you are able to see this attribute view is that now we have given a static privilege. It is not dynamic. Like the privilege will not change by its own. It will be static. So user to user, the privileges can be varied using this dynamic privilege. Let us say in the table we are going to determine that so and so user. Suppose maybe we have only this data. On our show, we will be able to see only this data. On show, we will be able to see this data. On show, we will be able to see only that data. So that way you can just keep it. Now suppose a new user enters in your application. So that inside this attribute view, there is no need to access your. Inside this attribute view under latest view, we are limiting the information which the user can view. That is your static privilege that we have seen earlier. Until then, until now, what we have done, we have restricted this view also. So if we give this attribute view to Neil B, then only Neil can view all the information under latest. See, don't get confused. If I give you the attribute view access also, you will not be able to view anything as a reporting user. So who is getting this access? First, you need to understand. This access is given to a reporting user who is going to use this only for reporting purpose. That is, to only access the data, to only view the data. In that case, when you are assigning the package to that particular user, you will be able to get this attribute view access. But this attribute view will not be able to. The left-hand user will not be able to access this attribute view unless and until you give some analytical privilege to the user. Until and unless you assign that analytical privilege, you will not be able to view anything. I have assigned this. I just did not refresh it. Now you will be able to see analytical privilege also. So I have assigned this analytical privilege _track to the user. You can see what analytical privilege we have assigned here. So we have assigned the analytical privilege as we have restricted it to gender and we have fixed the value to male. So that the user latest 1 to 3 user reporting user will only be able to see the data of male employees in your organization. Now only we will be able to see male data here. Now what we discussed in earlier class, of course you can see the female data also. So this is what we have seen earlier. What we have seen here are 2 people here in our organization who are male. So if you want to see the female data which is there in the table, so what you need to do, you need to create a new privilege here and it will help you. So like if you keep on doing this activity, you will end up with more privileges, creating more analytical privileges. It will be a pain for you to manage all these privileges. So instead, if you have this analytical privilege created, let me go as a system user so that I can show you better. So where is our package? Our package is latest. Under latest, what I am going to do, I am going to open this analytical privilege. So under this analytical privilege, now the value, the type is given as fixed. But after we create this table, authorization table, so we can select this procedure which is catalog procedure or a repository procedure. Now we are selecting catalog procedure and you can select the procedure name which you have created. Now suppose I am creating a procedure name called determined authorization gentle password procedure. Now once the procedure is created, it will give me in the value section. I can search that procedure in the value section and I will assign this procedure. In procedure, what I have done in procedure, you will input the procedure name. We will input the procedure name here. So we will input this procedure and this analytical privilege will not be changed. Same analytical privilege is assigned to the user. But when the user tries to access the data, it will go to this procedure. This procedure gets activated and this procedure will go to the table. From the assigned restrictions, there are multiple types. From authorization table from employees, under authorization table is there. So what the procedure does is that the procedure will check whether this user. So what kind of data can be shown to the user? That data is stored here in employees under authorization table. So let us say I have maintained 2 usernames now. Like Nev, I have maintained. So NELB is maintained with gender data or female. So this procedure will go here and it will search. So the basic concept is that instead of changing this analytical privilege itself multiple times, if you have a table, you can simply do an insert command and you can insert the values. Suppose a new user, suppose Saurabh has come into the company. Saurabh has to see some. He doesn't want to see the generic data. He wants to see some new data. So what you should do, if you are using this static privilege, you have to adjust the privilege itself. So, and by doing this adjustment, all the other users will also be impacted. So suppose the same analytical privilege is assigned to three users, Nelb, Saurabh, you and me. Now you have to see some X data. Saurabh has to see some X data and I have to see some other data. If I'm going to assign the same privilege, the same restriction, we will be able to see all the data. So that is not the requirement. So the requirement should be dynamic. So based on the user ID, based on the data which is maintained in the organization table, we should be able to see the data. So the restriction has to be dynamic based on the user ID. For that reason, we are creating this procedure. You understood. The writing type mismatch will come whenever you want to give the data which is of a different type here. But I know what is the issue here. Basically the value like the schema name and table name given it as same. But usually we have to do a separate name here. Instead, let us create an employee gender output table. But we have created this thing already. What type we have created here? Sorry, we have created a type here already, gender output. Sorry. We have to assign the output type here. Sorry. So that is why it is giving a conversion error because it cannot convert the data. Now we have to. So basically, it has to show some data. So that type, we have given it as this thing. We have created a gender output type. And in gender output type, we have given the table data as gender and the data is n vacha1. So I have given the type here which is our gender output. Let us start to execute. Let us move to execute without any errors. Great. Got the points. I have created a procedure. Now I will reiterate everything which I have done here so that you can understand. Basically what I have created now. I have created an output type. One schema latest. This is our output type gender output. So let us store some output type. Gender output as table gender and I have given data n varchar1. So this create type is like a variable. Come again. The create type latest gender output is like a variable. It is not a variable. It is an output type that we are creating. It stores the output basically. So let us say if you have to like, we are maintaining the output value here. So let us write latest gender output. So it will. So whatever output that you want is stored here and it hits this table, this output data. This output type will fetch the data from this particular employee gender authorization table. You will understand. I will complete this and quickly recap it so that you can understand. It is a bit complex. So great. It is a bit more visible. So I have created a type here, basically which stores the output data. As table gender and varchar1. This gender value is the same as your value, which is stored in your employee gender authorization table. I have created a table, employee gender authorization table under the schema, which is latest schema. And I have created a procedure called determined authorization, gender for sure. And the output is stored in this. The output which I get here is stored in the gender output type. We will understand it. Output value. So I have given the schema name and I have given the output type. And this language script SQL security kind of data is all standard. It is all basic. And what I have done here, I have created a select command, select gender from latest employee gender authorization table where username is equal to session. So what basically happens is that when this procedure is invoked, so what happens is that it checks in the schema. So it will take your user ID first. It will take your user ID. So user ID is always your session user. Session user is nothing but your user. So whatever user ID you log in is your session, user ID. So this is a session which I created. So my session user ID will be latest 123. So I will be able to view the data. Let's see. So your session user. And it has to check once you are logging with the session user. It has to go into this particular schema and it has to check this employee gender authorization table. What in employee gender authorization table, what it should check. Our output value should be what? Based on what? Based on some type. It should be based on what some type. What is the type here? Gender output. And gender output should look for what data? Gender output should look for gender data. In which table? Employee gender authorization table. And based on this, it should give you the output from this table. It should give you the output from this table, employee gender authorization table. Is it clear, Nelly, or do you have any thoughts? It's clear, sir. So we have done this now. We have created a procedure. So let's quickly assign this. Now we will try to modify the procedure. We have created this procedure. Now you have to understand. Let me close this and let me do a quick refresh. Let's say, whatever things are updated. The refresh is a very important thing in HoneyDB. Until you refresh, some data which you have created might not reflect here in the packages. So always be careful while doing something. Don't worry that the data which you have created is gone or something like that. Always be attentive and try to do a system refresh in order to avoid any issues. Now what I'm supposed to do? I'm going to the package which is created under relators. This is the relators, is there? I'm going into the analytical privilege which we have created. And in the analytical privilege, instead of giving the value as fixed, what I'm going to do? I'm going to select the procedure. The one which we have created is a fat lock procedure. Fat lock procedure and value. Let's say what is our value. So this is our procedure name. You got your procedure name basically. Click on execute. Now what I'll do? Now NLB is only assigned with female data in that authorization table. If you have any doubts, You can also check the authorization table for clarity. Where is the authorization table that is created under the schema latest? We can expand this latest. We can go to the table. Go to the table. You can select the authorization table and you can see the content of it. Open the content. Now LB should be able to see only female data from which table, the table called latest. From this latest table. NALB is logging in, you should be only able to see latest data. And NALB, I already assigned you this privilege. If not, I'll assign it to you now. What is this? Also, I think Saurabh has not attended our previous session. Let me give you a quick recap, Saurabh, so that you can understand a few things. So the major means, I think, I'll send all the privileges to you for my testing purpose. But now I've already assigned this latest to you. I've selected this privilege. I am checking the package as well. Latest package is also selected under your name. So analytical privilege is fine. Everything is fine. Let me log in as user ID and see what happens now. So user ID has got access. Now I should be able to view one record only. No. You should be only able to view female data. Correct. And what's the user password? I have logged in as user in LP. What should I do now? I should basically expand the content folder. I should go to latest. I need to see the activity view. I simply see the content. So attribute view is not properly assigned. So not attribute view. Basically, this access is not assigned to you. I will send all the privileges to you. But what happened? There's a package privilege assigned. The test is assigned. And the package privilege is not related. sys_b. I'll tell you what happened here. We have created this procedure. But we have to grant this access to this sys_repo. Procedure access to sys_repo. Because sys_repo is a owner. Until and unless you grant this access to sys_repo. So whether you create any analytical privilege where you assign this procedure to analytical privilege doesn't matter. It will not work. So you should assign that particular. What do you say? That particular procedure to. You have to send a particular procedure to sys_repo, which I'm going to do it now. And I'm going to do a quick refresh. Then you'll be able to see it. So this is your table. Sorry, this is your procedure. You have to assign this access to sys_repo. Because sys_repo is the owner. So if you're not assigning this access to sys_repo, you'll not be able to grant that privilege to any other user. Like let us say you are an IB. if you have to grant this access privilege to you. So that is why when I expanded this under NIB, I'm not able to see that analytical privilege. Because that analytical privilege is not assigned with the access of that procedure. Because this analytical privilege now is a dynamic privilege. It is not static privilege, analytical privilege. So now I am giving this access to the procedure which we have created. Exit. What is our schema? What is our procedure name? Select the procedure name. You have to do. Let's see. This is not. If you want to practice, you can practice. But usually this is not what we do. It's up to you. If you want to practice, you can practice. If you have doubts, you can come back to me and ask me. But if you do not practice this also, it's fine. But being as secular like I thought, I know that you guys are good with SQL. At least you will give it a try. Because it's more easier for you. And it is difficult for me. I'm executing this. I'm giving the privilege to the system. Grant is executed successfully. Now let us do a refresh on the NIB and see what happens. Robin, is there an object to grant this procedure manually in the no? You cannot. In HANA-B, always remember there are a few things that you cannot do manually. Like you cannot create a schema manually. You cannot grant privileges to system users manually. This is a system user ID. So if you want to grant some access, like I am granting this privilege, access to system report. If I am doing this, I have to always give this access to system report. At the same time, whenever I create some data, whenever I create an object, I have to always grant that object access to system report. Because system report is always the grantor of the access to any other user. And it itself should have the access rate in order to grant. Of course, you, as a creator, have access to that privilege. But in order to assign that privilege to another user, you should always grant this privilege to the system report first. Then only you will be able to see this data. I have refreshed this. Let's see what happens now under latest. Are you able to see the privilege or not? Earlier, it was not there. Now you will also be able to see the data. Number is my value access. It's still strong. Do not allow me. It's fine. Electrical privilege I have given. Latest 1, 2, 3. I have given. There is some issue with this. What is it? I'll be user ID earlier also. I tried to grant. That's why I have to do. That's why I created new test user ID, which is latest. 1, 2, 3. But let us try to fix this. There is some issue with this. I'll be user ID. That's fine. System privilege. I'll be a new data. The mandatory objects I have given the repository test and the package I have given as the latest package. I have given sys underscore bic and sys underscore by, which is the mandatory thing. I will call privilege as same. Let me remove this. Let me go first. $29.50 error is that it is restricting you to view the data. Basically. So let us check our authorization table before we do something. The authorization table is there under the schema latest. So this is the code. We have granted package privilege. We have given package privilege to latest as reported. I have given everything. Now what is pending? Should I get some access to the schemas? sys_repo. I can also check what is the issue and all, but it will be a bit complex for today's session. Let me see what I can do. sys_b, I have given, by has given, repository has been set up again. The schema name, that is the latest privilege that I have given. Let me see what. So we are done saying it is fine. What is missing? What is missing? Something is wrong with this hierarchical privilege only. How are we able to see it? Privilege. And the privilege is just fine. Privilege is fine. Sorry, is that a? If we practice that with the data in this, so what is the issue here? It's always equal here. Plain catalog procedure. Attribute is given as gender, which is fine. This is this privilege validity. No 5 to 234, that's also fine. This is a good feature, no? Privilege validity. This is a good feature, the privilege validity. Privilege validity is generally. We don't restrict privilege validity. We never do it. It's very rare that we restrict this privilege validity. But always it is not recommended to do anything. And privilege validity, you leave it as it is. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@upptalk.com.